And we're
Indeed.
good.
I see it.
Hey, everybody!
Hey.
I'm CJ, joined here by the always lovely Robert for episode Ice Cream Sunday. It's our delicious of OK Podcast with Bad People. That was a terrible intro, but hey, what are you going to do? We're here talking about, as you can see behind me, the Irishman.
hmm And also behind me.
Well, I can't, the lights are too bright.
So I just drew my own The Irishman case.
Oh,
The lights are still too bright.
it's still so white.
Uh,
Ah, your lighting.
that's too much. Let's
I can see
try
a
that.
circle on it. Is he gonna look like a leprechaun? Is that my guess? You drew that?
Yeah.
That's good. I forgot that you do art stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. Fine art. But can I plug your website?
I mean, it doesn't exist anymore.
Ah, what happened?
I didn't want to keep paying for it because I
Uh,
wasn't doing anything with it.
never mind. The world has lost another haven for the arts. So
Yeah.
it's because you guys didn't support it hard enough. But anyway, we're here to talk about Scorsese's new movie on Netflix, The Irishman.
hmm
And for the first part, and then our second part will be our dream IP game jam sort of thing.
Indeed.
But before any of that, Robert, take it away.
Yes. And my notes are still on my old computer, so that's why I'm looking weirdly off to the side.
That's fine. I'll
All
also
right.
look weirdly off to the side in solidarity. Because solidarity!
Perfect.
References to the movie.
So I did this week's deep dive. As you, I'm sure, recall, I not too long ago finished Luigi's Mansion,
Okay.
and your scientist buddy in Luigi's Mansion, Professor Egad, is kind of a weird character. So I did a little bit of a deep dive on Professor Egad.
So it has. Okay, so I was like, it has literally nothing to do with the Irishman. I was.
No,
Okay, I was waiting for some connection between Scorsese films and
I mean
Luigi's Mansion.
they aren't always related.
Okay, sorry.
Like I like I did one on did wasn't the last one that I did just on weird foods?
Yeah, what did we even
Yeah.
talk about? That guy hasn't been watching our things on YouTube anymore, so we've really just fallen apart.
Yeah.
And sorry to everyone, I saw I look like a hobo. I meant to shave, but then this movie made me too sad, and I just laid on the floor crying. But anyway, Luigi's Mansion, egad, go, boom.
Yes. So, Professor Egad, of course, is the scientist who invented the Poltergeist 3000, which is the
Mm.
vacuum that Luigi uses to suck up ghosts. His name is a reference to the exclamation that one might make when surprised, like Egad.
Yep,
But what you might not know is that the E in his name is the initial for his first name,
I did
and
know that.
oh, you did know that,
I
but
did
you
know
get to
that it
guess
was
what it is.
okay.
So is it A. Elroy, B. Elvin, C. Elvis, or D. Igor?
Well, my brain either wants to go with Elvis or Igor because Igor is a famous lab assistant in all those movies. But I don't know if that's the fake out one that you did. But I don't think it's Elvin or Elroy. Oh man, he's giving me the saucy eyes. I don't know what it means. I don't have a coin to flip. You know, I'm just gonna go with Igor, I guess. See if
Saucy eyes are my. Is that your final answer?
Igor, I guess.
I'm afraid you're wrong. It was Elvin.
Elvin?
Elvin Gad.
Uh,
Elvin.
that's not a real name. Nice
Well, he's
try,
not a real
Miyamoto.
scientist.
You can't tell me that.
So, he speaks in a gibberish language that was made up by Kazumi Takota, and he drew the inspiration from that for that language from another game, which is also
Simlish.
you're already locking in because that's not one of the
Oh,
options.
damn it!
So we got A. Kirby, B. Zelda, C. Earthbound, or D. Animal Crossing.
Well, the only ones of those that really I would say would be Animal Crossing. of those because that's the only one that has vocals. Like Earthbound doesn't have talking.
Well, you're correct.
Okay. I was like, none of them really have voice acting in any of those games except Animal Crossing.
Yeah. I mean, some of the Zeldas do, right? Maybe not.
Oh, I
don't know.
forgot the new one actually totally does have voice acting in
Yeah,
it. But Professor Egad came out way before Breath of the Wild. And
that's true.
I wouldn't count yet as voice work, so
Fair point. All right. While the professor made his first appearance in Luigi's Mansion, a later game, Mario and Luigi
Just Superstar
Partners
Saga.
in Time, haha, explored his origins.
Oh.
In the game, he's living at the bottom of Thwomp Volcano, and the Mario Brothers save his lab from an eruption. He, in turn, helps the Mario Brothers by inspiring his own future self to have the idea for an invention which will help the brothers in the future, the Hydro Pump 4000, which the brothers fire into the past from the future in order to save the lab. I'm not sure I got all of that right, but that's
I'm
the
waiting for the
info from
question.
Wiki article as best as I could get it. So after this, he moves to the Boo Woods to research booze.
Mm-hmm.
But his research required funding, so he opened up a restaurant. And you get to guess what the name of the restaurant was.
Is it the coffee shop?
Well, so was it A, Starbeans Cafe?
Starbeans
B,
Cafe. Hey, I've played the shit out of that
locking
game.
in?
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, you
Fight
got
me.
it.
Yeah!
Didn't even let me read the funny restaurant names.
Keep
I made
going.
up. No, it's too late
Oh,
now.
no!
They're lost forever.
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 Unlike William's novel, which I will start posting in the comments now.
Perfect. All right. So, while King Boo is trapped in a painting at the end of Luigi's Mansion, he manages to escape in time for the next game in the series, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
Mm-hmm.
What is revealed later is that King Boo's escape is in part Egad's fault.
Oh, no!
So you get to guess, what did Egad do that helped King Boo escape? Did he A, spill acid on the painting, releasing the seal? B, test a vacuum in the lab, which was so powerful that it pulled King Boo out of the painting? C, sell the painting in a garage sale to someone who didn't know how to protect it? Or D, taunt the painting too many times, enraging King Boo to the point that he escaped on his own?
C sounds like the most Nintendo answer. Because D, I don't know, anime powers in the world of Mario don't really exist. So becoming so mad, you're just going to go burp. But acid and the vacuum both sound credible. So, because I know the story of Dark Moon, there's multiple things, so he's probably at a different location. I'm going to go with he sold it to someone who didn't know how to protect it.
You got it.
Yay! Context clues.
All right. The wiki page for EGAD lists 32 inventions that are credited to his name. I'm going to list 4 of those inventions. 3 are real, 1 is made up.
Okay.
You know the rest. So, is it A, the Phantom Fiddler, B, Robo Mario, C, Game Boy Horror SP, or D, the Ghost Portraitizer?
A.
Yeah, it's A.
Yeah, all the other ones are in other games, Robert. You think I don't play the shit out of Nintendo games?
Well, you passed. You passed.
Yay.
That's our whole deep dive.
We did it.
Yep.
I'm proud of us. And
Indeed.
Will for making an Acid Time reference. But all right, that was a fun little appetizer.
Yep.
I feel slightly uncomfortable having Joe Pesci like right behind my head. He's a spooky man. Not so much in this movie, which was weird, but we're gonna be talking about The Irishman and what we thought, what we liked, what we didn't. This was the first time either of us had seen it.
Correct.
Robert was a good boy, and he watched it last week, when we were supposed to have a podcast, but then I lost track of time over the Thanksgiving stuff and forgot. And just watched it today, so I am still a rush with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. How do you feel about it right now, Robert? How are you feeling?
I mean, I still think it was a really good movie. I rewatched part of it this week, but I didn't get through all of it because it's 3.5 hours long.
It is a fucking long
It's
movie.
a long movie, but it's also there was never a point where I was bored or wanted to stop watching. And I
I
think,
feel the same way.
like, yeah, being able to make a movie that long but also that engaging is a real achievement. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I think the story is great. There's a lot about it that I think is weirdly relevant to like our world today. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. What'd you think?
I really liked it. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm at a spot where I'm still like kind of emotionally digesting it. That it's
Hmm.
hard for me to like be critical because I just feel all of these things right now that I'm really afraid I'm just gonna railroad our conversation by just being like, ugh. But yeah, I've seen. I feel like I've seen almost every like major Scorsese film. People talk about like Raging Bull, Goodfellas. For some reason, I'm totally know I'm wrong, but I thought he was also the one who directed Godfather, but that's not true.
Hmm.
At least I don't think it is. Google it. But yeah,
Yeah, I think I've only seen two of his other movies.
like The Departed.
Mm-mm.
That's really good. Who directed that? Oh, duh, that was Coppola. That's who did The Godfather. He made
Yeah,
Godfather
I've
and
only
Wine. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, I've only seen Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, both of which I watched in preparation for our Joker podcast.
Well, to me, this movie felt very reminiscent uh, of Goodfellas, but
Hmm.
hit so much harder. Where both films are about the main character not initially being like a crime family member, and then basically like working their way up the ranks.
Yeah.
So, I forgot to put the spoiler tag on. Hold on just a second. I knew I was forgetting something. It's just so no one gets mad. As there will be spoilers for other Scorsese films. But I will try to head them off by saying beware spoilers. So right now, beware spoilers for Goodfellas. Is one where it's the main character who I'm just gonna look up his name because I'm trying to remember it all day. Is he starts getting into crime when he is like a kid.
Hmm.
Really, no one's gonna tell me what this guy's name is. Show it to me. Why does Rotten Tomatoes? Ray Liotta. There we go. Ray Liotta's character started then, whereas it looks like Frank. Is it Sharon? Is that his name? I think it's Frank
I don't
Sharon.
remember.
He starts what looks to be like in his late 20s, even like 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, he like seems fairly old when he starts. But I mean, he says he's been through a war, so like you would think he'd be at least somewhat older.
He'd have to be at least 18. So,
Yeah.
because I don't remember what year the movie like start when it shows him as a truck
Mm.
driver.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's kind of the overall a very blanket statement saying this movie, like Goodfellas, has the crime doesn't pay in the end, despite like the power and money you get out of it.
Hmm.
But this movie just did it in such a way that I felt emotionally drained by the end of it in a good way. Is that there's so much happening in it. Like I didn't know that like I knew Al Pacino was in it, but I knew who he was going to be, so I figured he was going to be like a mob boss character. I figured he would be like the rival mob boss because I knew Rob De Niro's character worked for Joe Pesci's character. But it turns out he's
Yeah.
Jimmy Hoffa, and I was like, oh. So I really just don't even know where to start. Did you have
Yeah,
some
I mean it's a hard movie to like almost partially just because it uses a weird story structure
Mhm.
where like so I was thinking it's a little bit funny because it's the second movie in a row we've watched where the movie starts with the character
narrating?
narrating like I'm going to tell you how I got here. kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Although in the case of this movie, I think what you realize is it's not necessarily how I got here so much as he's telling you like, here's how I ended up, I guess, major spoiler, killing Jimmy Hoffa. Um, or at least that was the impression I got, right?
That was, you gave them
Is
almost no time to get away
Yeah,
from. You're like, Major spoiler, Jimmy Hoffa's dead.
I gave all maybe one of our viewers.
I don't know.
Um,
Spoiler tags. Anyway, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was the impression I got is that like he's telling them that specific story, and then in the process of telling them that is kind of filling them in on the rest of his life also, and like how that played into the decisions that he made. And so the story is kind of like jumping all over in his life,
Mm-hmm.
telling all of that. But
Some things that I've like, as just before we get into specifics, but just like
mhm.
generally found interesting is normally when there's a crime movie, the character like a la Goodfellas, The Godfather, Scarface, the protagonist is like an up and comer young guy, and then like yeah, they're young. Whereas this was a mob movie focused on like older people for a
Hmm.
lot of it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like Robert De Niro and everyone is like in their 40s and 50s for most of the movie.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I just found really weird, especially with Joe Pesci behind me, is what would, if there is one, would you say who or what is the antagonist of this movie?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if anything, I almost feel like Robert De Niro is himself kind of the antagonist. Like, not really. He's the protagonist, but he's put himself in a situation where he becomes, I would say, deeply morally compromised, you know?
Yeah. And the
Like,
antagonist doesn't have to mean evil, it just means the person
yeah.
getting in the way of the protagonist.
Hmm.
But to me, honestly, I like aside from just like the human condition of loneliness and wanting to be successful, I can't really think of one. Is like normally
Yeah.
like if have you seen Casino or Good? You said you haven't seen Goodfellas. All right, have you seen many works with Joe Pesci in them?
Uh-uh.
You gotta watch more movies, dog. Joe, from
I
what
mean, I watch a lot of movies. This just isn't a genre I've explored deeply.
it's a good genre. But Joe Pesci's character, especially, like he normally plays like these almost like hothead psychopath characters, and a lot of the stuff he's like, you've seen him in Home Alone. I'm sure he's one of the bandits.
Hmm. It's been a very long time since I watched Home Alone, but
But even in that one, he plays like a comedy version of like his Scorsese characters,
hmm.
where he doesn't ever really swear because it's a kids movie, but he tries
Yeah.
to swear. But he's also like the one who's like, I'm gonna cut that kid's stomach up and pull out his organs. But like he very famously, his character in Goodfellas is like this mentally unhinged guy who can kind of like on a dime just like snap and kill someone,
Hmm.
and all even his friends are afraid of him. And I expected him to be like that in this, but really there really wasn't anyone who felt like over the top comically evil in this. They all felt like people. Like
Yeah. If anything, the evil is kind of just like the indifference that they feel to enacting violence on other people, which was like one of the things that I really, really liked in this movie is how almost like flat the violence feels. Like,
it feels
flat isn't the
very
right word.
realistic. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
very real.
stylized at all.
It's not stylized, it's not dramatized.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like even in the like biggest moments, the killings which should have the most emotional impact, they kind of just like happen so fast, you know, and you're not you're not even ready for it. Um
It's very blunt. Like it's just
mhm.
they're dead.
Yeah. And I feel like that sort of speaks though to the indifference that the characters in this movie feel towards the human lives that they take.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And to me, that's what makes this movie even more like emotionally harrowing. Is that they feel like this person could go kill someone, and then you could have breakfast with them, and you'd be like, "Hey, Mark."
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I just chose the name Mark because we know him, Mark. Mark, I don't think you kill people, but if you do, you've pulled the wool over all of our eyes. But yeah, like they just feel like dudes who go about their lives, and then like I would say probably like the most goofy thing with violence in this movie that felt like not unrealistic but felt sort of stylized. There isn't even violence happening. It's just like the cut scenes, like the montage, I mean, of Robert De Niro's character throwing the guns into the river. So it's like he kills 4 or 5 people in that montage. You don't see them die, but you see him getting rid of the guns, and just like, and he's just like, yep, and he goes about his life having killed those people. And I'm sure it's implied he has killed more people. We just don't see it because it's not relevant to the story. But like everyone, I feel, was likable.
Yeah.
Probably the only one who wasn't likable would be I think it's Joey Pro. It's the dude who is the actor from Snatch, who's like the Jason Statham sidekick character. Do you know who I'm
I
talking
didn't
about?
recognize him.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think so.
He's the dude that Jimmy Hoffa like refuses to sit down and apologize
because he
with.
keeps showing up late to their meetings.
Yeah, that guy felt the most like a big shithead. But at the same time, he still was like very reasonable. Like when he's talking to Hoffa, and Hoffa's like calling him a cocksucker and stuff. Like in a normal, like probably like a different Scorsese movie, that character would go, "I'm a cocksucker, ha ha ha," and then just pull out a gun and shoot that guy. But he was willing to talk, and he didn't really snap until like the thing about Jews comes up again, which is something to become reasonably upset about. If someone's taking shots at your race, you get mad at that. But like when the cops come to arrest him in that one scene, he's just kind of like joking around like, haha, I'm untouchable. Was probably the most display of like a cartoonish asshole. But yeah, just there. It was weird because these people that I was like, I enjoy watching them do stuff, were just doing bad things.
Yeah. Well, that's like something that I think is so brilliant, at least in the Scorsese movies that I've watched, is that like his characters are often people who are doing really bad things, but they're so engaging that like you're willing to kind of overlook it to an extent. Maybe overlook it isn't the right word, but it's almost fun to be along on the ride with them. Just because like they're so compelling as characters.
It feels like what they're doing fits the world they're in. So it doesn't feel like out of place.
Yeah.
But in this one, like, yeah, Robert De Niro's character, it feels like, I guess the other thing I was going to say is, normally when there's like a bad guy in these movies, they're doing super bad things, so it makes the things the protagonist doing look less bad in comparison.
Yeah.
But here, just everything just was equally shitty. So it's not to like, we would pause it to make popcorn and I'd have like a few moments of silence to think about. I'm just like, Jesus, Frank is an asshole.
Yeah.
But then I would forget because we'd start watching the movie again for another hour and 50 minutes, and I'd be like, oh man, I really feel bad for Frank. But man, I didn't expect Ray Romano. Sorry, on a sidetrack. I didn't expect Ray Romano to be in this movie. And
he's the lawyer, right?
yeah, like as soon as
I loved him. He's great.
He is great. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, is he going to be like the weird comedy lawyer who's only in this scene? And then he was in a lot of the movie, and he was not a goofy comedy lawyer. He was like a very like knowledgeable, competent lawyer. And I was like, I remember when he was on Everyone Loves Raymond, and his wife put a bowl of hot fudge ice cream onto his dick, and he went, fudgy.
Yeah, a knowledgeable, competent, but deeply unscrupulous lawyer.
Yes. I'm gonna say basically everyone who is a named character except Chucky Hoffa, and his daughters, I guess, are like basically crime people.
Yeah.
But man, like I guess I want to talk about the biggest thing for me that really like hit as hard as it was is I completely expected as this movie was going, especially since the movie starts showing Robert De Niro as an old man.
Mm-hmm.
My initial fear was that he was actually dead the whole time, just telling this story, and like this was him transitioning to the afterlife or whatever.
Yeah.
But spoilers, that is not what is happening. Let's turn this up a little bit. Oh, don't want to turn up that high. Haha. So he survives the events that he is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally expected this movie to be a crime doesn't pay and look where shitty I am now ending. So that's what I was banking on. I expected him to, because I don't. Did you in research at all? Is this based on like a true story? Or is this completely fiction?
I don't. I was wondering that myself. I don't know. Well, I mean, at least some of it has to be fictionalized, right? Because I don't know anything about Jimmy Hoffa, but I guess I'm assuming, at least from the way that the story is told, that we don't actually know in reality what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, and so like the story was a fictionalized version of like here's something that it could have been, but
Apparently the book, which is where the title "I Heard You Paint Houses" comes from,
mm-hmm.
that's supposed to be
Yes.
nonfiction. Like this is
Okay.
to the writer, all of this is supposed to be true.
Gotcha.
Because the big thing with Jimmy Hoffa is no one's ever found his body. So there's always that was a big pop culture thing, late '90s, early 2000s. They'd be like, yeah, we are, and these are the people who know where Jimmy Hoffa's body is. They know everything. But yeah, it's because the book was written by a prosecutor who was interviewing Frank Sheeran or Cher, whatever his name is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just looked that up really quick. But where is it going? So yeah, I know he makes it to the end, and I figured it'd be something like, once again, spoilers for Goodfellas. The ending of Goodfellas, Ray Liotta's character, he gets really involved with the mobs, but then like the police start cracking down, and by like the last act of the movie, it's him flipping, and he starts turning everyone in. So he gets put in witness protection, and the end of the movie is him like in witness protection in this really beautiful suburb in Florida, and it's like this. I think it's Florida, and it's very Americana and peaceful. But he's just insanely paranoid that like he's gonna be looking over his shoulder forever because he comes out of his house and he's just getting the newspaper and he just looks around and he notices that like some people are kind of looking at him like his neighbors and the paper boy, and then he looks up and sees a helicopter. And he is convinced it's like a police helicopter, and he just nervously and shakily, with this like look of sickness, just goes back into his house, and he's like, "And I'm living the American dream of whatever." So normally, sorry, burped. I've seen a lot of these mob movies is that the person ends by like flipping on the mob family. So I was expecting that to happen, but that doesn't happen at all. He survives, and he outlives everyone. Which I didn't expect either, but yeah, he lives. He does get arrested. He goes to jail for 18 years, I think they said.
Yeah, something like that. A long time.
But yeah, him and all of his basically like guys go to jail, and he's just the only one who comes out alive. But I've seen movies where like you see the protagonist young, and then like at the end of the movie you see them old, but it's just kind of like, Brr. This movie instilled within me in like the last 20 minutes like the most primal fear of becoming an invalid. Like watching De Niro like go from being like a man who can basically like a dude who's almost invincible, like people are scared of Frank and he gets shit done, to being like unable to walk back from the bathroom. And just the very end of the movie where he is alone because his family basically just doesn't visit him because he's a criminal and he's an asshole.
Yeah.
And he's alone on Christmas, and he just says, like, he asks the priest, as the priest is leaving to go on his, like, Christmas break, to be like, don't shut the door. I don't like it when it's shut. And he's just this old man sitting alone in a wheelchair in this old folks' home.
Yeah.
And then the movie just ends because that's what it does sometimes. It's just this whole message of like, it doesn't matter what you do, you can be like this biggest person, but at the end you're going to be put in a box and get put in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So like there's a certain like you touched on this earlier, but there's also an extent to which the reason he's alone is very specifically tied into the kind of life that he lived.
Yeah.
Um, and that there's a conversation that he has with his daughter near the end, which like if as a viewer watching the movie is not surprising to you because it's him and his daughter talking, and his daughter basically tells him like you really weren't a good dad. All of us were terrified of you. And not because we thought that you would hurt us, but because we knew that you would flip out and hurt someone else. And so they just like didn't know how to deal with that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it kind of ruined their childhood. And that's why they don't feel close to him. And he's kind of like, you know, what do I do? Because he doesn't I don't I feel like it had never even occurred to him before then that in a way he had terrified his own family. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can
Yeah.
agree with that. Like he kind of because he like tries to justify his
Yeah.
like I was just trying to do what was good. But what I was just like saying was seeing that, and I don't know how much I'm gonna regret saying this on the internet, but seeing that like when the movie was over, my immediate feeling was like I never want to get to that point in my life. How do I
Hmm.
prevent that? I could just kill myself right now. Like not I am not saying that this movie Scorsese was like I want to make a movie that makes people want to kill themselves. It's not that. This is purely my life situation sort of thing, but it was just it hit and I'd like just this wave of it's I don't know if I was afraid, but it's the I haven't felt this way in so long, and it was just
Hmm.
such a weird emotion of dear God, I don't ever want to be there. And I personally don't feel like I'm on my way to going there. I've never murdered anyone, and I'm not a criminal.
Yeah.
But it was really
Yeah.
heavy for a while, and even Will, he didn't want to be on the podcast, but both of us were just like, ugh, and he's just like, I need to go for a walk right now. We gotta go. We gotta get out of the house, and we just went for a little walk afterwards because it was just this heavy blubber layer of reality laying on us, and I was just like, oh. And honestly, I felt bad. Like I felt
Hmm.
bad, but like the movie, but that's a testament to how good the storytelling of this movie is.
Yeah.
Is if art is about plucking at those strings of emotion, then this fucking movie played like a harpsichord symphony in my brain, and I was just like, "Jeez, this sucks,"
Hmm.
but it was good. Like that scene, and then I had some time to like dip off of it from when it happened earlier. Is when Robert De Niro is on the phone with Jimmy Hoffa's wife,
Yeah.
and it was such a weird, nuanced performance that he's giving as someone who is like responsible for the dead husband that no one knows is dead, but is also genuinely trying to comfort this woman that he sees as a friend. And the way he just keeps like stammering and over talking himself, he's like, "Yeah, just I'll call you in the morning." Felt so real, like when you're overwhelmed with emotion and you don't know how to make a sentence.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. That is such a deeply complicated thing that he did too. Like, I mean, it it is definitely like the central, I guess, conflict that he has as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, he goes about it kind of as it's what to him makes him such a dark character, or what to me makes him such a dark character is that like he clearly has genuine affection for Jimmy Hoffa,
Yeah.
and yet he does kill him, and he kills him really efficiently and really coldly. And then, like you said, you know, he has to go and talk to his wife, who he does care for, but at the same time, like he can't tell her that he just killed her husband.
I don't
Uh,
know if I'd call the killing of Hoffa really cold. I agree that it's efficient, but I think that kind of plays into the affection he has. Is like
mm,
when it was happening, I totally didn't expect that Frank was going to be the one to kill him, which I was actually kind of confused about that because it made it sound like Joe Pesci's character was putting like Robert De Niro into this situation to sort of make sure that everyone knew that De Niro's character was like still on their side, wouldn't come after him. So I
yeah.
expected him to kind of take like an audience role where like he was just going to be there to set it up and then like maybe watch someone kill him.
Hmm.
So I expected sort of there's a once again going to Goodfellas. There's a famous scene in that where Joe Pesci's character, after going off the rails too many times, the mafia is like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Hmm.
And he gets brought into a room, and they because everyone's telling him like, yeah, he's getting a promotion, and then they bring him into this room, and he realizes the room is bare, and he just sees a bunch of pictures on the wall, and I forget like what the tip off is, but it's because of something he knows that this is what the mafia does to kill people. You just see him
Yeah.
go like he just looks forward and he just goes, oh shit, and then they just shoot him in the back of the head. Is I was expecting a moment like that with Jimmy Hoffa, where Jimmy would see Frank and kind of have like an et tu brute thing.
Yeah.
But no, like he shoots him in the head, and what? Because I checked it and I was looking, is every time Frank De Niro's character killed someone, he either like when he kills Whispers in the early part, he just walks up, shoots him, and he keeps walking immediately. He doesn't check anything. He just keeps going. And then
Yeah.
near the end of the movie, when he kills Sally with that dude, he shoots that guy, and then he just keeps shooting him to send a message. Whereas when he shoots Hoffa and he stops. And
Yeah.
he's like, and then he kind of like looks around, and then when he lays the gun down, he very much is like in the moment of shooting him, and like,
Hmm.
oh my god, I hate this.
Yeah.
So to me, it felt personal. Like he didn't just shoot him and go goodbye, Hoffa, and then like leave. He shot him
Fair
and was
point.
like, oh my god, I just shot this guy.
Yeah. What you were saying though about like not expecting it to be Frank that killed him,
Mm-hmm.
I think I had that same feeling, but I also had that when he killed Whispers. Like the way that or the lead up to that moment didn't really prime me to realize what was going to happen. And I think I'd mentioned earlier that like there's a part of this movie that feels really relevant to one particular thing that's going on contempor currently, like
Mm-hmm.
historically, which is that this movie really deals with how mob speak works. Um, and like I think both of those scenes show how subtle mob speak can be, that the people who are talking with Frank communicate to him, you are the person who's responsible for killing this person, but they never say it in any, or like the way that they communicate that is so subtle that even watching as a viewer, you don't necessarily pick up on it.
Mm.
Um, and like not to get super political, but we have a person in high office who's been accused of some things, and part of the case against him is that he uses mob speak in order to get people to do what he wants without incriminating himself. And so I felt like there's an element of this movie that's really important in terms of like seeing how subtle mob speak can be and how you can tell people to do things without telling them to do things in a way that incriminates you.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't think about that. But the one last thing about my tangent of oldness and the terrifyingness of it was at the scene like at the end where those cops come to say like talk to him. They're like, we the Jimmy Hoffa's family deserves to know like what happened to him,
Yeah.
and it's just when they're being like, everyone's dead. And I've seen scenes like that in other movies where it's like everyone's dead, I'm the last one left. but it's normally like in and I have to carry on their bonds sort of way.
Mm.
But this was just, you have no one left. Why are you insisting still on hurting people?
Yeah, no one would even bother to kill you for revealing this.
And
Everyone who had anything to lose is gone.
I was just like, because I am very positive of our friend group, I am never going to be in this situation. If I make it to 42 after eating all these donuts, I will be amazed. But the idea of being that person, like being the last one, was also just such a terrifying thing to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh shit. That sucks. But also, like, seeing Joe Pesci, because he was older in those scenes, like, him not being able to eat bread and his hands shaking while they're drinking grape juice, I'm just like, fuck, being old is terrible.
Yeah.
But you can still play bocce ball, though.
You can still do that. I don't know how, but you can do it.
I think it's just kind of like not ice shuffleboard. You just try to get.
I don't know how to play shuffleboard either.
You just try to get onto the point target with the most, and then you can use your pucks to knock other people away. It's just curling. But because in my back pocket, because I once again do not, because of my lifestyle choices, expect to make it to being this old, is growing up in a technologically savvy generation. I would say is I expect when I'm old, I'm still going to be playing the shit out of video games.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I ever get put in a helm, I'll just fucking play Halo 19. It'll be fine. And it'll be great. But then I was like, fuck, what if my hands don't work? That was terrifying. And then I just began yelling in my brain at whoever is in charge of making virtual reality games that it's up to them to make it so that if I become an invalid, I can still play Elder Scrolls.
Well, for what it's worth, I think that part of what's awful for Frank also is just that he's alone, and I don't know. I think you're such a friendly, nice person to talk to. It's hard for me to imagine you being alone unless you wanted to be. But
that does actually make me feel really good. Thank you. But one thing, and I haven't seen enough Scorsese movies recently, is that it didn't really feel like the soundtrack was really that important in this movie. Or like there wasn't really, aside from the one scene at the wedding, which anytime it's mob movies, my brain immediately goes back to The Godfather, is that there's a very famous scene at a wedding where it's like playing very like orchestral angelic choiry music with slow motion. But then it keeps cutting back and forth between the wedding and scenes of grotesque, hideous violence. Is when it was doing the scene where Ray Romano's getting married to that very young-looking woman, and it was just a slow motion of them walking. I kept expecting something horrific to happen, but that was the only time I really noticed the music, because it was just silent except for the music. But
yeah,
I didn't really. Can you really think of any time like the music was really anything except I guess for the end when it was playing like kind of a chipper like a 1940s song that's more upbeat, but you just saw this horrifically sad isolationist scene. So it's kind of like a haha.
Yeah, none of the music really stands out in my mind. But I mean, also like I said, it's been 2 weeks since I seen it, so
Shouldn't it only just be 1 week?
well, I think I watched it. I don't remember when I watched it. It's more than a week.
Okay.
Less than 2. You're right, but I think it's probably closer to 2 weeks than 1.
Gotcha. But man, like a lot of people say that Godfather 2 is Robert De Niro's best performance, but I think this is it. I just fuck. This was
it's really good.
Watch this movie if you want to watch a good movie and then be sad. Unless you're like, nope, I'm completely secure in my social circle and I'm not a murderer and I know this will never happen to me. But if you are a mentally and emotionally unstable person, this movie can really kind of hit you in the guts. And and then make you have to go outside and walk before making some of the tastiest fried chicken you've ever made in your life.
Ooh,
That's what we made for dinner.
nice. I also had fried chicken.
Nice. Where'd you get it
just
from?
came from KFC.
Nice.
Yeah, they gave me. I ordered my usual meal is the like $5. I mean, they don't do the
$5
$5
foot
fill-up thing.
long?
No, they used to do a thing called $5 fill-ups,
Do
where it
they-
was like a box.
Do they not do the Phillips where you live?
I mean, they don't call it that anymore, I guess, but it's still the same thing. Anyways, I always
Oh.
get the one with the three chicken tenders, but they gave me 7 tenders today.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
How the fuck do you
But-
fuck that up? Thank you, KFC, though.
I know, yeah. But I mean, it was too much for me. I ate 4 of them and then gave the others to my roommate.
Oh,
But
you can just put them in the fridge and eat them later. But if you're giving them to your friends, that's
yeah,
fine.
I mean, I figured they wouldn't be as good later if you reheated them.
You don't reheat fried chicken. You just eat it cold.
Mm,
Oh my god.
I'd rather just give it to my friend.
Or you can heat it in a skillet. These are all... Living with my roommates, I've just seen how these weirdos treat leftovers, and it infuriates me, so I don't know. But, wow. That's... I thought you were going to be like, I only get 3, but they gave me 4. They're like, nope, they doubled my order plus 1.
Yeah.
But, man, if I would have gotten 7 chicken tenders, I probably would have felt better. I mean, I don't know why that's rude. It was just 4 additional chicken tenders. But, because one thing I just, like, still am processing is how, once again, like, no one in this movie was, like, a psychopath. Is I really expected, like, you do treat them weird, William. You microwave everything, you Philistine.
What should he not be microwaving?
Really don't microwave any sort of protein, like steak or chicken. If you want it to be good, you should reheat it with, like, direct heat.
That takes effort, though.
Okay. But anyway. Like, Robert De Niro normally, when he's in these sort of movies, he's like the head honcho, the big boss. Like, he plays Al Capone in The Untouchables. He's one of the big dudes in Casino. So it was weird sort of seeing him as, like, the down-to-earth dude you're supposed to relate to. And he never has, like, an outburst of psychotic violence, aside from the time he beats the shit out of that store clerk guy. That was, like, his one moment of that.
Yeah.
But when he's at the table with Joe Pesci, when Joe Pesci basically says, like, yeah, we're going to kill Hoffa. And when Robert De Niro just sort of leans back, and you can just see him holding back tears as, like, a 50-year-old man, because one of his friends of over a decade is going to be murdered, and he can't help him.
Yeah.
There was so many words without any dialogue. And I was just like, oh, God. This sucks. Because, like, once again, the standard mob movie of that is usually the friend of the main character gets tricked into a spot where he's going to be assassinated, or because the friend's too much of a loose cannon, the friend is going to try to help. The main character will try to help the friend, but then people will have to hold him back while his loose cannon friend is gunned down in front of him, and he has the whole "No, Jimmy" moment. But this was just I can't do anything about this because I'm just a person. And I was just like, the movie felt so real that it hurt me to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't an overly tragic movie. Like, the one that comes to mind, which is a very sad movie, is Schindler's List. Because the Holocaust is very sad. But that is also very dramatized sadness.
Yeah.
But this just felt... And that movie made me sad, but this felt real to a level that I haven't experienced in a movie in so long. And I was just like, oh. And I'm still feeling it after 3 hours.
Yeah, there's a real subtlety to the way that everything's done that
Mm-hmm. Whew. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Um, I mean, I think I have. I think we've covered all the big things I wanted to talk about. I have a couple little nifty trivia bits, but
Nifty trivia bits for this sad, humanizing tale of destruction.
all right. So, one thing is that Joe Pesci had initially refused to come out of retirement for this movie,
Was he
and
retired?
yeah, he was retired.
Oh,
And there are some sources that say that he refused 50 times before accepting the role,
well,
which,
he nailed it.
yep.
I wondered
So,
why I hadn't seen him in anything.
um, so I don't know for sure if this one's true, but I think it's potentially interesting, which is that at 3 hours and 30 minutes long, it's both the longest movie that Scorsese has ever directed, but it's also the longest mainstream film that has released in the last 20 years.
When I was looking up Scorsese just to see how old he was, there was a little like Google blurb that was like doubling down on his length, making it one of the
Hmm.
longest movies in decades.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a movie that's been this like to me, not including weird foreign films I had to watch in college for film class. Like when
Hmm.
I think of long movies, my brain jumps to Return of the King,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
came out like 15 years ago.
It is a long ass movie though.
And then if you watch the director's cut, it's even longer.
I hate the like extended cuts of Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings, but it's too much.
Like it's just too much, or the extra stuff is bad.
The I think the extra stuff is fine. Like I genuinely so I haven't seen all of the extended cuts, but I've seen some and like I can't I haven't watched enough Lord of the Rings that I know which scenes are the extra ones, and I can't tell the difference. It's all good stuff. It's just that it's those movies are too long already.
Gotcha. But yeah, anyway, like that to me is like for the longest time been like the standard of a long movie.
Hmm.
Like I forget how long was Endgame. Endgame was like three
Uh,
hours, right? Almost. I think it was.
Maybe I have not seen it, but
Oh shit! You need to see that unless you don't like
yeah, I haven't
Marvel.
seen. I mean,
That
I think Marvel's fine. I'm just not like a huge fan. So
yeah,
yeah, I haven't seen any of the big ones.
the big. What are big ones?
Well, so I guess I don't. I think the last thing I saw was Civil War, and I haven't watched anything really since then.
I mean, you
Unless,
can. I was gonna say you can just watch. If you've seen Civil War, then yeah, just watch Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame together as one single movie for like 6 hours. Like you're watching that Rose whatever show,
Rose Red.
Rose Red. And they're good, but yeah. Anyway, I still think Return of the King was longer, but now this is my movie of like when someone's like, "How long is it?" I'm like, "It's not as long as The Irishman. It's fine." But anyway, sorry. Tangent
Yeah,
of movie lengths.
yeah. I mean, Blade Runner 2049 was also pretty long.
But that didn't even break the 3 hour mark.
Yeah, but
But
that doesn't mean it's not long.
I don't
It's
know.
like
I
240, isn't it?
I have an amazing tolerance to sit and watch a thing for a long time. So
I do too, but there are definitely. I mean, I think all of the movies that we've talked about, except for the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings, I haven't ever had a problem with, and I guess some that I haven't seen, but um, I definitely have seen movies that were long enough that I was like,
I'm
hmm,
done.
yeah.
Yep. Any more
But this was
sweet?
definitely not one of them. It's good the whole way
Yeah,
through.
it's like Will. Like I think he said it more of a joke, but it feels like I watched an entire season of a television show
Yeah.
for the amount of different shit that happens in this. I feel like you could break this up into like 6 episodes of television.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, any more sweet trivia? Oh, brushing my hair the wrong
Yeah.
way.
I got a couple more.
Sweet.
So, apparently Scorsese had initially been planning on doing a completely different movie about still like the same kind of mob world. And he wanted De Niro in it. And De Niro read the book I Heard You Paint Houses as part of his research and then convinced Scorsese to make that the movie instead.
Hmm.
So, kind of neat.
That is such a. I'm so mad at how good the title for that book is. I
Yeah.
heard you paint houses.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm just
I
like,
I guess that must like when it first happened in the movie and I was thinking it's all completely fictional, I was like, that's such a brilliant euphemism.
mm-hmm.
Like there's something so weird and subtle and dark about it. Um,
But yeah, Will pointed
yeah.
out to me something I want to keep giving props to Will since I was shitting on him for using the microwave. Is I didn't notice it, but he pointed out is that when he's doing the I paint houses thing and you see like the blood splatter,
Mhm.
that's him shooting Jimmy at the very beginning of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I also didn't catch that.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. But sad because of context.
Hmm. All right. So last one, and we can do a little quiz with this one if you want.
Sure, man. Let's get out on a high note of this sad movie.
All right. So, the word fuck and various permutations of it are used 136 times in this movie, which makes it the sixth film directed by Scorsese to contain more than 100 uses of the word fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The others are Casino, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, The Wolf of Wall Street, and The Departed.
Yeah.
You want to guess which one of them he used the word fuck in the most?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's the Wolf of Wall Street.
you're
Yeah,
correct.
like they made a big deal about how like they said fuck so many times that I heard stories that like the MPAA was like we this has to be above R because this goes above pervasive language. But I think it's funny you said fuck. I'm just sorry that you bring this up. Is I noticed, but it didn't really feel like the swearing was super hard with that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel egregious.
I asked Will, and I was like, I can't think of a time where De Niro said fuck at all.
Hmm.
And I'm sure he did. Like he probably just like said it very casually or something.
Yeah.
But when it was just near the end when he was an old man, I was just thinking about it, and I was because someone said like fuck in a previous scene, and I was just like, wait a minute, I don't think he said that in the whole movie. But Pesci says it all the time, like it just rolls out of his mouth like water.
Yeah. Well, for comparison, so it was 136 times in this movie. It was 569 in Wolf of Wall Street.
I think there's just like a monologue in that movie, if I remember correctly. He just says fuck
Oh,
like
yeah.
he says like fuck like 20 times in a row.
That's hella fucks.
Yep. But anything else you want to say before we take a quick ad break and move on to the next part?
No, I don't think so.
All right, we're going to take our first ever ad break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about our dream IP game jams. If you could have access to any IP from anything, what sort of game would you make? So we will be right back for that nonsense. So I'm guessing an ad is running right now. I think we're still live
Yeah.
for like everyone else, so we can just sort of like talk about stuff.
Yep.
So we're going to be playing D&D at some point. The campaign that we started in real life to kind of get people acclimated to the rules is going pretty good. No one has died yet. I may have made the campaign a little tougher. It's like how like the monsters are made in that is like they have CR ratings, and it's supposed to be like if someone has a CR of 1, that means like a party of like 2 to 3 adventurers who are also level 1 should have no problem killing it. So there's 4 of them, so they have the advantage in numbers. But yeah, and I was like, oh, it's fine. These guys are like CR 1/8, so like 1-on-1 they should be able to kick the shit out of them. But and just some of the encounters, like a bunch of them, like I have 4 hit points left, and I'm just like, oh no. All right. And we're back, and pre-roll ads are disabled for 20 minutes.
Ah.
So we just can't keep doing that to get that sweet cash. But anyway, we're going to talk about video game stuff now.
Indeed.
And since this was your suggestion, Robert, did you have an idea you want to start talking about? I have two, I think, but I want to hear.
Yeah, I've got three. None of them are super fleshed out or really fleshed out at all, but I think they could be fun to talk about. So my first one I feel like is maybe kind of an obvious place to go. There's definitely a better title for it, but I'm calling it Super Smash RPG.
You son of a bitch.
Did I snipe yours?
Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, so you know me, I love like turn-based RPGs.
Oh, I was going to say I love Smash Brothers, and I was like, what?
I used to love Smash. It has worn on me over the years. But the idea of like a turn-based RPG that has basically the same roster as the Smash games is so deeply appealing to me.
Okay, that's not what mine is, but yeah. Oh, that would be. Well, which Smash? That's the thing.
I mean, the latest one.
Well,
I just want as many Nintendo adjacent characters as possible.
Not at all once, because it defeats the purpose. It's like not counting like the legality issues of trying to get everyone, because they're not all Nintendo anymore.
Yeah,
but I think that unless they're not all your party, that would be way too many characters.
No, not all. Like, well, so I guess what I mean is like, I want you to you could put any of them in your party, but they're not all in at once.
No, that's what I mean. But having access to that many, because
yeah,
like
that's what I want.
Well, but that's like the thing though is like Pit and Dark Pit are the same characters, so there'll just be a lot of like weird overlap.
I mean, you can get rid of some of the like dumb redundancies. I'm not bothered by that. But I mean, I don't know. I really like, and I think that you can like Pokemon is an example of an RPG where there are hundreds of characters that you could potentially choose to put in your party. So
but Pokemon is terrible.
Which
is what I'm going to talk about later.
Yeah.
But that's because you're terrible. I'm sorry. But that's the other thing in Pokemon, though, unless you want, which I think would do a disservice to, I do not, let me preface by saying I do not think your idea is bad, so that's not what I'm getting at, is in Pokemon, you could have two water-type Pokemon who look different, but they play functionally exactly the same because they have the same moves and everything. So, from a gameplay perspective, you're basically doing the same thing. But
yeah, I mean, that's fine to me. They don't have to be radically different, all of them.
I feel like if you're, especially since all of these Nintendo characters are very like iconic, you would want them all to feel and function differently.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I guess for me it would be cool if they had like different animations for the their moves and stuff. But I don't know, like I really like even if characters are functionally the same, it's cool to be able to pick the ones who you're like fond of and you want to fit them into your party.
Because you're saying this is like a Final Fantasy, like old school Final Fantasy turn-based, right? Where it's just like one side smash. Is thinking about it, because they basically did this with Raving Rabbids, is I think Smash could also work really well as like an XCOM sort of game. Because that way characters like Pit they would have the ability to basically move from like the ground floor up like 3 stories like in a bound because they have wings. And that would be a way to really differentiate them. Like they might have the same moves, but these guys have different movement abilities and stuff like that. Like Donkey Kong can move through like light cover and stuff by just smashing it because he's a big strong boy.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
I've always liked the idea of making an XCOM style game. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you have any more about that game idea, or is it just sort of that was your general idea?
No, it's just sort of that was the general idea.
Do you mind if we move on to my first idea then?
Yeah, go for it.
Because my first idea is a Pokemon game.
Oh, I also have a Pokemon one, but
okay. I'm curious what we've come up with. Okay. But mine is actually an adventure game. where the Pokemon are not used for battling. They basically function as your inventory for puzzle solving. Like, the idea would be, because as much as I hate to pull inspiration from it, but, like, my brain sort of went to where it was, like, at the start of Detective Pikachu, how the main character doesn't have a Pokemon, and his friend's like, just go catch a Pokemon.
Yeah.
And the idea would be, like, you're going, like, you start and you don't have any Pokemon because your guy's like, I don't need Pokemon, I'm an insurance adjuster, or whatever that guy's job was. And, like, the first mission would be, like, hey, you're going to work at this company where you have to have a Pokemon because of, like, regulations to show humans Pokemon. So you try and decide what Pokemon to show up with, and you learn, like, oh man, the lady hates bugs, so, like, you'd go into the woods and you'd be like, well, I don't want to catch a Caterpie because it'd freak her out. But then you'd, like, collect Pokemon, and you could use, like, oh man, I don't know how to get out of this room, it's stuck, Bulbasaur, Vine Whip that thing over there to get out of here. But it'd be a game where you would not necessarily have access to the whole Pokedex, but maybe, like, 20 or 30 Pokemon, and you'd have a lot of interactions with them, like, that are meaningful rather than just, like, go fight, or which I don't feel like is an important interaction, like when you get to, like, pet your Pokemon because you're not doing anything, you're just rubbing a hand on them and then hearts come out of their heads. But like,
then they make a cute face at you.
But that doesn't do anything for, like, the narrative flow of the game. They're just these...
I mean, it does affect battle.
Okay, but that's not the narrative flow. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't... You could be horrible and punch the shit out of your Charmander, but then if you just tell it to use the right fire attacks enough, you're going to beat the Elite Four. But a game where it's about getting to know your respective special Pokemon. And, like, what it means to basically, I'm so tired of what Pokemon games are, because the world is so interesting and it's infuriating that they just are like, nope, it's about kids fighting until they're the best. Like, and the one time they made a not game like that was Detective Pikachu, and that game sucked. But I want them to try again.
Yeah.
But not make Detective Pikachu 2.
I mean, Pokemon Snap, I feel, is kind of different from.
But that game's boring, and I don't like it.
I love Pokemon Snap.
It's a nothing game to me. Like, I know it is a game that is more than just taking pictures, but to me, effectively, it's a sightseeing tour where it's about doing the same run over and over again to try to get better pictures. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't appeal to me at all. But I don't know. I'd love to play in a big open world where you get to, like, meet and befriend Pokemon. And if Nintendo's, like, Pokemon guidelines are like, there has to be battling. Okay, sure. But don't make the battles specifically turn-based where it's like, it's about doing damage matchups, but it's about, like, solving, like, the fights are set up like puzzles.
Yeah.
About, like, where to move and do all this other stuff. But I don't know.
I mean, there's an extent to which, like, at the competitive level, that's what the fights are like, but...
What do you mean?
Well, so, like, when someone, like, even when I'm playing a Pokemon game, I'm usually only using damage moves, but there's a lot more moves than that. And, like, when people are playing competitive, when people do competitive Pokemon, like, they are using all of those other moves in, like, weird ways. So you're, like, setting up a specific strategy that only works with certain Pokemon that have certain moves that you've figured out, and you're trying to mind game what your opponent is doing. I think there is a level of complexity to it beyond what you get when you're just playing the normal game.
Well, that's not what I'm not arguing that there's not complexity. I'm arguing that if there's a fight, the fight isn't about using the correct moves in terms of, like, oh, I need to hit this guy for a critical or something. It'll be like, it might force you into a situation where you have to use a grass type against a fire type. And the puzzle is figuring out how to win.
Gotcha.
Doing that based on, like, stuff that you have. Like, there might be, like, loose terrain, and you, like, could you trick the Pokemon? I don't know. I don't know how necessarily all the individual pieces would work, but what I want is a game that isn't about walking through tall grass, walking past insane people who go, I made eye contact with you, we have to fight for money. And just grinding up your sex daddy to have all the perfect IVs. It's about being in a Pokemon world and getting to like see what that means. Which,
Yeah,
seeing
pretty
people
neat.
play them, like I watched a bunch of Sun and Moon when I was working on this other project where Will and I were working a little bit. That was going to be like a more of a mature version of Pokemon-ish that was darker. And they had really cool stuff in that where it's like, this is like Pokemon was sad, so it's like find a way to make that Pokemon not sad anymore. I would like to see stuff like that. Like that would be a thing to do.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. I would play that game.
Especially if your what I would like is the main character does not really like Pokemon because he's just like, I don't want to own one. I don't want to own one. Like there's just a lot of hassle to be in a relationship with a Pokemon. But just you begrudgingly just start making friends with dozens of Pokemon and they start loving you and you're just like, I hate how much you love me. Because that appeals to me because I, as of right now, finger quotes, hate Pokemon for what it is because I feel like it is squandering its potential. Because it's the same game every time with a slightly different paint job and I will fight anyone on the internet who disagrees with me. And I don't just mean argue, I mean we will put on some like Rock'em Sock'em Robot gloves and a big bubble from Bubble Soccer and we'll just slam it out behind the KFC and afterwards we'll get some $5 Phillips.
There you go.
And be friends again. But anyway, that's what I'd think about.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that they're different, but I do love them all.
And that's fine. They're like once you find something that works, you can keep making that to keep making money, but to me, I see it like it's being held back by the game mechanics. Like I only have one way to interact with the world of Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree. It would be really cool if they, at the very least, made more like spin-off series where there were different ways of.
Yeah, like that's what I would
doing
want.
cool things with a really cool world that people really love.
Ideally, what I would like to do, but it would be too weird because it would like break the lore of Pokemon. But like have a way that you can communicate with Pokemon and get like like I like the idea of like the Squirtle from the old Pokemon. Like he would wear glasses and he was like an asshole. Most Pokemon and stuff aren't characters. They're just the thing used to fight, and then they get happy when Ash hugs them. But there are definitely examples of that Pokemon has a very distinct personality. But like the idea of a Gyarados who has terrible like crown anxiety that he just stays at the bottom of the ocean because he gets really spooked when there's too many people and he like vomits or something, like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I don't think that would break the lore. Like that's literally what happens in Detective Pikachu is that a human gets turned into a Pokemon and then can talk to Pokemon. Like,
but that's not canonical. That's what I mean. Like it's is. That's all I meant, is something that could fit without being like, this is a spin-off where we can never reference it again because it's not canonical.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like the extent of magical bullshit that happens in Pokemon though, you could say like this magic rock made this guy able to talk to Pokemon. He's the only one who can do it. So it doesn't break the rest of the world, but he can do it. And that's you. You're him. Go talk to Pokemon and play this game.
I think the closest I got was you have your own Rotom Dex like Ash does in Sun and Moon because it can talk to you, but it can also talk to Pokemon. So basically, like, you would be like, ask him this, and then the Rotom would talk to it in its Pokemon language, and then the Pokemon would, like, pantomime at it, and then it'd be like, that Pokemon is super addicted to super berries. It's Jones and real bad.
Well, Jesse and James's Meowth could talk to Pokemon too.
Yes,
right?
I forgot about that. Because
so.
Pokemon can learn English whatever the language of Pokemon people are, by trying hard enough. So, because that's just Meowth's story, if I remember correctly, is he wanted to impress.
That's funny that he's the one who tried hard enough and then just fell into a life of lazy crime.
Well, it's because, if I remember correctly, he was trying to impress either a Persian or another Meowth, and then when it didn't work out, he became so heartbroken he decided to become a criminal.
Gotcha.
But, I don't know. It would be cool if you were just, like, walking through the woods, and then there was just, like, a bunch of ponitas who were just running. They're like, hey, we're how horses! And you're like, hello, fire horses. But, I don't know. That
That would be pretty fun.
that's my whole idea is a spin-off Pokemon game where it's not all about beating the shit out of other Pokemon with other Pokemon.
I think your spin-off Pokemon game is better than mine.
Oh, okay. What's your spin-off Pokemon game?
Mine was
Is it a
just,
really in-depth breeding simulator?
it's not that, but I would play the shit out of that.
Just like you're exhausted sapple sex worker that you're just like, we gotta get this one some more electrolytes. Sorry, I'm done.
Um, no, my idea was like a beat 'em up or brawler, but with Pokemon. I feel like they wouldn't ever do it, but
Do you mean like
I don't know.
aside from like what Pokken tournament is?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean one that's closer to like what Phantom Breaker was,
Phantom Breaker.
that game that we played together.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about
Hmm.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could. That would never happen.
Yeah, it would never happen, but I would love to play a game where there were like, even if it was just like 30 or 40 of the Pokemon that you could pick from,
Hmm.
and then like that's the one that you could battle as and like fight other Pokemon and level up. Oh, that would be so cool.
The closest I could see that being is maybe like a Dynasty Warriors spin-off where like some evil Pokemon are corrupting all the other Pokemon and you're
Hmm.
like a Charizard who can just do Muso moves and knock out like 100 Pidgeys at one time in a flame tornado and then they all faint.
Yeah.
But one that is just purely focused on like beat down punch. So what would be the setting of that? Like, are you doing that like in a city, or is it like when you go out into the woods with your trainer? This is what it's really like, where you just find random Pokemon and beat the shit out of them.
I mean, I guess I thought it would be kind of like the games where there's lots of different places that you go, you know? So, like, you'd have one level that was like a normal route, or you'd have a level that was a city and you're fighting like Pokemon that would live in a city. And, you know, you have a level that's the icy snow place and a level that's the cave place, that
I,
kind of thing.
I guess I was just asking for like context of it. Is
Oh,
like if you're like in normally like the beat 'em up games, you're in like River City, which is a crime city full of criminals. So that's
yeah.
why you're fighting everyone in the street. So in this
Hmm.
Pokemon spin-off, if you're beating the shit out of Pokemon in the city, are you in a city where it's just rampant with violent Pokemon?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess like it didn't even occur to me to think about that just because Pokemon battling each other is such a central and yet
Horrific.
horrific part of that world, but also one that like canonically you just pretend isn't horrific.
Mm-hmm. Because it's fine.
Uh,
Everyone loves it.
yeah.
So are you beating up wild Pokemon, or are these like you're walking and like Team Rocket like pops out and then throws their Pokeballs and they're like, "Here's our Pokemon," and then
Hmm.
you beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I mean I had thought wild Pokemon initially, but the Team Rocket idea is like actually kind of good in terms of a way of giving some context to like that. Or you could do a thing where like, so one of the things that's going on in Sword and Shield
Mm-hmm.
is that the like Dynamax energy that makes Pokemon gigantic also makes them go crazy and start attacking everything. So you could just have something like that going on where like, yeah, they're wild Pokemon, but there's some sort of energy going on in the area that they are that has made them all go insane. And so that's why you have to fight them, is so that you can get through the area to get to the source of the energy that's making them go crazy and then destroy it.
Gotcha. 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 I think that would be really hard to do in like a balanced way because like unless you're playing exclusively fighting type Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon are like beam laser Chandler assholes from Pokken Tournament where they just do bullet hell bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there are beat 'em ups that, like, Dragon Quest is a great example. Not Dragon
Oh, I was like,
Quest.
what? Or Double Dragon?
No. Uh, uh,
River City Girls.
no. Uh, Dragon's Crown.
Okay.
You can play as like the sorceress or the wizard in that, and they have moves like that, but it still doesn't become unbalanced. I guess I'm just saying I think there's ways to make that game where like even if some Pokemon have ranged attacks, it doesn't become OP or unbalanced.
But I'm trying to think of okay, like how would Kakuna do that?
I mean, you probably don't pick Kakuna. That's a
That's what I
shitty
mean. Like, is
Pokemon.
you'd have to like decide
Well,
what Pokemon are in it.
yeah. I mean, that's fine though. It doesn't have, like I said earlier, like even if there's just like 30 or 40 Pokemon, there's probably one or two in there that anyone picking up the game is like, "Oh, I love this one. I'm going to play as this guy."
I just like I'm trying to remember what it was because I know when Pokemon tournament was being talked about, I was like, I'm pretty sure like showing like real time actual violence was like something that's like against the Pokemon standards and practices.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, man, that'd be hard to get made.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that how hard it was to get made was not the point of this
Yeah, I know.
exercise. Just like dream up a game idea that you like with an IP.
Oh,
But
exactly. I know. That's why I was afraid of this thing is because I can never have dreams without thinking about no. Because I'm also just trying to think of like you just like seeing Pikachu just do like a 5-frame normal strike attack onto like a Cyndaquil, and then doing a heavy D overthrow, and then it's just like blurf, and like it just explodes Pokebucks.
yeah,
But ugh.
well, all I'm saying is Game Freak, if you make it, I'll play it.
Speaking of games that made and play it, is something to think about because I didn't know it was coming to PC at all. Is Dragon Quest Builders 2?
Hmm.
Fingers, there we go. I keep forgetting everything's backwards. Trying to get both my fingers on screen. Is that seemed like a game that you would be into, and I'm into it, and like that would be a fun stream game.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it, but
It's like Minecraft, but in the Dragon Quest universe with way more structure and context and
yeah, I could
charm.
get into that.
Yes.
And
If
hopefully I'd be able to play it now.
yeah. So what'd you end up get? If you don't mind sharing this stuff, like what'd you
Yeah,
end up getting?
it's an Acer Predator Helios 300.
Ah man, how much did you get it for?
I think like after taxes, it was just shy of 1,000.
Then I
Um,
am positive you can play basically anything.
yeah,
You,
yeah, I think so. This thing has some. I think for a laptop, it's pretty nuts.
I was gonna be like, show it to me. You just pick up the laptop and the camera's moving, and I'm just like, but you probably
I
aren't.
guess. Because I just have the webcam, I can
Oh,
just take it off and.
ah, that looks good. Wow,
Yeah,
what graphics card is in it?
it's a 1060.
Yep, you're good for a while. Like you won't be able to play Red Dead Redemption 2 on max specs, but you
Mhm.
can definitely play Red Dead 2. So, fuck yes, this changes everything. Now I have to start planning stuff that we can do because we're definitely going to play Dead Red 3, Dead Souls, Dark Souls 3, words. Oh man, Will hasn't said anything in chat. I wonder if he's even there still. Um, but yeah, I think your idea for a Pokemon game is good. Don't sell
Yeah,
yourself short. I don't know. After playing the beat 'em ups we played, I'm just like the idea of playing another beat 'em up right now doesn't sound very fun. Just
I
because
love the ones that we played so much. I want to play more.
I would definitely play more. It was just I didn't really like River City Underground.
Yeah.
Phantom
Well,
Breaker was okay. It was just kind of repetitive.
yeah. I think if River City Girls goes on sale, we should give it a shot. Well, I mean, I played it already on Switch,
Oh, I was
but
gonna be like,
I would
you own it.
I'd happily buy it again on Steam, and then
It would
if
have to
you
be
wanted to
really
play it.
cheap.
Yeah, because I liked that game a lot.
I'd be willing to play it, and we can go save our boyfriends.
Yep.
I want Dragon's Crown to be on PC.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would make my day. That
But
game was awesome.
the oh man, my lighter's almost out of fluid. Uh, The other game I had is a game which I think I've brought up before. It is a game I know I'll never be able to make it. But it was my first ever game idea I ever had. And it started when I was 8, after playing the first Smash Brothers. So that's when you said Smash Brothers RPG. I went, oh no. And I'm not saying that Square Enix's thought detection van drove past my 8-year-old house and then made Kingdom Hearts, but I'm just saying I had the idea for Kingdom Hearts before Kingdom Hearts, but instead of...
I think I remember you telling me about this game before.
Oh, I brought it up all the time in high school, and I just remember our friend Heather remember one day, like, I was just talking about it to Will, and she just interrupted me talking and just said, "You'll never be able to make that game." And that spurred this, like, weird, vengeful, like, I'm gonna fucking make that game, and then I'm gonna give you a copy. But now that I'm a more adult, I'm like, she was right. I'll never be able to make that game. But yeah, the original idea was someone who is a fan of Smash Brothers getting sucked into the world of Smash Brothers with all of the OG, like, was it 12 characters? 12 characters, but then it wasn't about one-on-one fighting. It was like something went wrong, and you like would make parties out of those people, plus the character you were playing as. But the whole time they were like, I can't believe I'm in the jungles of the DK worlds, and it was just like fandom and bullshit. But then as I like kept thinking about it, especially after Kingdom Hearts came out, and I both liked it but also deeply hated it for what it did to its source material, I was like, man, I think this same system would work but with Nintendo characters. And the idea, it's like I would have to retool up so much of it, because if it came out, people would be like, this is just Kingdom Hearts with Nintendo characters, where it's all of ours like share like a weird multiverse, and the jump between game worlds is like game worlds in space, basically. But like things I hated in Kingdom Hearts is that Kingdom Hearts like changes the story of Disney movies. Like in the Tarzan one, like the father monkey doesn't die saving the tribe of monkeys because of a Tarzan mistake, thus giving Tarzan this moment of inner inflection and changing his character. No, just the bad guy shows up on a chameleon and he has a gun. And they all live happily ever after, and that completely undercuts all the character development of the movie. And also the writing for the newest Kingdom Hearts is fucking 9th grade at best. Oh, it is a cringe fest, and I want to stream it so bad. I want to make Will play it, and I just sit behind him being a catty, unhelpful asshole, because fuck, the writing of that movie is so bad. Game, sorry. But I think the strength of that same sort of setup with Nintendo characters is that there really isn't a defined canon of events that can be disrupted. Like, you could just be like, this is another Mario adventure. But it would just be this human character, and it would play, I imagined it playing more of like a Devil May Cry than like how Kingdom Hearts has like the weird live action menu base. But you'd still have like your party of like you land in the Mushroom Kingdom at first, and you make friends, and Mario and Luigi are there, and because of weird magic space bullshit, they teach you your first spell, which is their fireball. So you can go bloop and throw out their fireball. But then after that, you go to, I forget the second. I think the second world was Sonic, because I was little and stupid and thought Nintendo owned Sonic at the time.
I mean, in a way they did.
Yeah. And then the idea would be, whereas in Kingdom Hearts, all the worlds are very isolated, but Smash Brothers was about bringing everyone together, is you could bring Mario to the Sonic world. So you could have like Mario and Tails as your team, and they'd have interactions with each other. And that'd just be the thing, is it would be more about showing how connected everything is rather than just saying, nope, all the worlds are totally connected, but they can never interact with each other. Shut up! But, yeah, that idea wouldn't happen, but it would play sort of...
But it would be awesome if it did.
If something happens, and, I don't know, we somehow make like an indie darling video game that gets me invited to Nintendo headquarters where I take 18 bullets for oh my god, I just forgot his name, which means Miyamoto. Like, I just take them but I don't die, and he's like, as respect, you have a blank check and access to all of our IP. I'd be like, here's this 700-page document I've been working on since 1998. And he's like, oh God. And then he like starts trying to smother me because he's like, I have to renege on this deal. Then yeah, because I don't know. Because also I don't think Nintendo's really ever made like an Uncharted style game, because that was the idea too. Is it'd be a combination of third person like spectacle fighter brawling, but then also platforming that wasn't just like jumping from platform to platform, but it would be like the jumping to the platform, but then the platform crumbles, and then your guy kind of like grabs on the wall and like slides down a little bit, and he's like, "Oh shit!" But he wouldn't say shit because it's a Nintendo game, and like you're like, because that's the other thing is Professor Egad is one of your main support characters. It's because he makes a lot of your inventions. So like you're crawling on the outside of the Gray Fox spaceship, and he's like, "So how are you doing? Are you?" And like the main character's like, "Just hanging out." Ah! And then it zooms back, and he's on the outside of the spaceship as it's like going through atmosphere. I don't know. It was that's my dream game. In the grandest sense of that, it is a dream and will never be reality. As opposed to like I have a dream wrestling game and a dream skateboarding game that could potentially, if a series of very fortunate events happens, I could be like, boom, here we go. So what I'm saying is, people watching this on YouTube, come to the Twitch channel, give us just 100,000 bits.
Yep.
Oh my god! Before we go anywhere, I have to just bring this up because news. And I hope I'm not like proliferating false information, but I saw it in two different sources. Are you familiar with Star Citizen?
No.
Okay, it's this game that has been in development for I think almost 10 years. And
yeah, I know I've heard the name before, but I know literally nothing about it.
It's been
I thought it was a game that was already out.
It's out in alpha or beta, and you can play it now. Like, it's been playable for like 3 years, I think. But like when it was announced, it was, I would say, probably hands down the most ambitious game ever announced. Like, are you familiar with No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine No Man's Sky, but each planet is like the level of detail of a GTA game. So it's like there's hundreds of people. You can be whatever job you want to be. Maybe not GTA, because GTA has like weird micro details, but like maybe an Elder Scrolls game where there's just a shitload of interactivity.
Yeah.
But infinite planets of that. The game had broken records for being the highest, most crowd-funded project of all time. It was at 300 million last I heard. But the game has sputtered, and like they released this like thing a couple years ago. It's like, we're out of money. We spent it all, and there's no game. And everyone was like, what the fuck? But I guess like in the last year they raised another $250 million. So this game has had a budget of over $500 million, and it's not out yet. It's not done. And it doesn't come with free infinite candy. So, like, I don't know. If they can fuck that game up that bad with that much money, I don't know. If I could... Okay, here's the plan. We're going to go, and you're going to be the shooter, and I'm going to jump in front and take the bullets for Miyamoto, and that's how we're going to get the rights. Because either way, either one, we get to make the game, or two, I get to die. So it's win-win, baby. Yeah, I believe...
I feel like this isn't a plan to be planning on the internet.
But if I wink like I'm being sarcastic, they can't charge us.
Yeah.
Well, GTA 5, I did not believe had a $500 million budget for development. It had it was $250 million for development and $250 million for marketing. Because that's usually what AAA does, is you split it.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, all of this money is going into development, which is bananas. So yeah, this game has also had more money put into it than GTA 5, which is nuts. But anyway, that's my stupid dreams. What are your stupid dreams for your next game?
My last idea?
Yes.
All right. So my last one is not a video game IP. It's an IP that's about games, which is so I don't know. I have a couple ideas of how the mechanics of this game could work. But my basic idea is a Civ-style game set in the No Game No Life universe.
I mean, it would
Um,
just play like Civ. I can already see it.
well,
Um,
no, so part of my idea for this game though is like, in Civ when you have armies fight, they just like do a little thing. But
mm-hmm.
in this game when armies fight, you would have to play a game. So like you'd be playing the Civ style game, but then your armies would fight and you'd have to go play maybe like a miniature chess match against the other person, or like there would just be other games and like various nations could have various games associated with them. Um
I think my immediate of being the doubting Thomas jerk off thing is that seems like when we were talking about other what was the game we were talking about before, where it's like that just sounds like it'd be mini game apocalypse,
yeah.
where it would immediately kill someone with a nut allergy if they got too close. That's how nutty it is. So, is I think, yeah, because that'd be the problem. Is you'd be like you're playing mini chess like every turn, and
Yeah.
Civ is already really slow. So imagine waiting for people to play mini chess. Is the only way I can sort of see around that is maybe instead of having like it would still have to play like Civ where you wouldn't play the minigame itself, but like the units would have stats like cleverness, speed, or whatever. Is depending on how it works is like if they're attacking you, you get to pick the game, and this is a knowledge based game,
Yeah.
so then you would have an advantage in that, but it would still number crunch. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's like if you're standing on this tile, you get a bonus to speed-based games, so that when you pitch the speed-based game, your numbers just destroy theirs, and it would happen really fast. But yeah, I think if you had to keep playing mini games like that for a multiplayer game, I could see people going, "Holy shit, the flow of this game is so slow."
Yeah. Well, my other idea for No Game No Life had been more of a like Mario Party style game, which I think could work pretty well with that
That
IP.
could, yeah, I mean that would I think fit perfectly. It would be very valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that is literally the No Game No Life thing, is because it's all about playing game. That has
Yeah.
more context than Mario Party.
Yeah. Yeah, I that is the better idea. But I don't know. I just want a No Game No Life game.
I thought they came out with a mobile game.
That's not what I want.
Okay. Let me look up. See, No Game No Life video game. For the first result of that is just someone asking, "Is No Game No Life canceled?" Probably.
I'm on the subreddit for No Game No Life, and like every week there's someone who's like, "Hey guys, so maybe it's coming back," and then everyone's just like, "No,
Shut up,
dude,
idiot!
no, stop."
Don't bring us hope in this dark place. Yeah. I'm surprised there hasn't been a game, since it's a game about games. I mean, it's a thing about games, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like a game would make a lot of sense for it, and like it's a gorgeous show aesthetically, and it has an aesthetic that would translate really well to video games.
Ooh, I agree.
And the characters are all like really lovable, and I'd want to play as all of them.
As all of them.
There's probably some I wouldn't want to play.
I'm trying to think of like some character that was like whatever, but I'm like everyone is a weird, lovable weirdo.
Yeah.
Jibril.
Oh, I love Jabril.
She's a weirdo. But yeah, those were my two ideas. Did you have any other ones?
No, I think we did all of mine.
Nice. This was a nice way to bring my spirits back up. I'm no longer emotionally crushed by the weight of the Irishman.
I'm glad to hear it, because you're my friend and I don't want you to feel sad.
Yay. And the other thing that makes me excited is I believe Will went to the store, because after watching Al Pacino eat so many fucking hot fudge sundaes in that movie, I was like, I want hot fudge sundaes, and I believe he went to the store to pick up supplies to make hot fudge sundaes.
Nice. I don't know if I've ever had a hot fudge sundae.
I'm like, can you see my face? Wow. They're the best. That's probably my favorite dessert.
That's high praise.
Like, I've never had a bad one, but because I really love chocolate cake, but I've had very subpar chocolate cake before, but I've never been like, yeah, hot. It has to, I'm saying like a hot fudge sundae, not a hot sundae that has like the Hershey's chocolate syrup, because that's okay. But if this is a hot fudge sundae with whipped cream, sprinkles, maybe a cherry, I've never been let down before. But anyway, so do you want to move on to prepping for next week?
Sure.
Okay, because I had an idea for a movie.
Okay.
And I think it will appeal to you.
All right.
I don't know if you've heard it. It's this movie called Rock and Rule.
I have not heard of it.
It's a 1980s animated science fiction fantasy rock opera out of Canada. About a nuclear war that wipes out humanity. So like a new race of like animal people-ish things show up, and there's villains and rock music. There's Cheap Trick. Like it's all like music from like 80s bands. And it has a cult following, and it's like recently started like getting some clout in America.
Let's see if I'll be able to find it before I sign on.
It's on YouTube. There's like 8 versions of it on YouTube.
Okay.
But yeah, look at it. It's has really good animation. It almost looks like a Dan Bluth film.
All right.
Your face is just lit up. But I was like,
let's give it a shot.
Yay! Yeah, just make sure if you can find the original cut.
Okay.
Because there's an American version that they cut out like all of the swearing and a few of like the more adult scenes, and then redubbed one character to an American actor with more clout.
Gotcha.
But it's the same story regardless. But I heard about it because people are like, the villain of that movie is really interesting. And then I saw like a clip on YouTube and I was like, what the fuck is this? How have I never heard of this before? But yeah, Rock and Rule.
All right.
And then did you have... I don't have any new suggestions for
I
stuff.
did have a new suggestion.
I am all ears.
Which is, okay, so you might reject this by saying it's a little too early for it, but
Is it
I
about
was thinking
Christmas?
It's not about Christmas.
Okay.
My thought was so I have no more games I'm planning to buy before the end of the year, so I'm ready to do a game of the year list, and I was wondering if you'd want to do like a game of the year thing, where you could pick like top 5 games of the year.
Yeah,
and then...
I do think, now that you're saying what it is, I thought you meant like rejecting it like it was a bad idea. Maybe it's a little too early, but at the same time, I don't know what everyone's schedule is going to be going. I'm not going anywhere for the end of the year, so I will be here. What is the last Thursday of the year? Like, I'll be here on the 26th, the day after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what you're doing, so I don't want to be.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we can certainly do podcast then, but I don't know. I was just like,
he said you're coming to your Christmas. You're going to Will's Christmas.
I am?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Will just said nope. Oh, no, I'm not. I am not going to the Christmas either. Sorry, Robert, you're uninvited from Will's Christmas. I mean, like, if you're like, I really want to do it, then I'm fine with doing it. Is that something you really want to do, or is it just sort of an idea?
I mean, I was kind of excited about the idea,
Then
but it's all right.
Let's do it. But just, like, when you say games of the year, games from this year?
Yeah, well, so I'm not if you wanted to do a rule where it's just like the best games that you've played this year, I don't mind that either, but I had figured a more conventional one. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm fine either way.
Because my only thing is I really have, aside from
You haven't what?
play. I'm sorry, I just kind of got trailed off for a second. It's like, aside from Outer Worlds, I'm trying to think of what games from this year I've played. Sekiro.
Okay. Well, if you want to do it the other way, then where it's just like,
We can do.
what games have you played this year that were like the games that are gonna stick with you?
I don't see why we can't do both. You can have like, this is the best game of this year, and this is the
Okay.
best game of the year that I've played. Like, oh fuck! I forgot a Red Dead 2 came out earlier this year. Never mind.
Are you realizing as you think about it, there's more and more?
Well, just because Will's just like, idiot. Look, Sekiro RDR2. Oh, spoilers, RDR2 is my game of the year. I'll talk about why it is.
Okay.
But yeah,
I was thinking each of us could pick a top 5. Does that sound good? Or is that
a
too
top
much?
5 for, well, I don't, it might be too much because I don't know if I've played 5 this year. Do we want to do a top 5 of each?
A what?
Like, or is the top 5 including of this year and ones we've played for the first time this year that aren't from this year?
Okay, I think that's. What if we do top 3 that are from this year, and then top 2 that you played this year, even though they're not from this year?
Why not 3 and
That
3
sound-
just for weird
Okay,
symmetry
all right,
reasons?
let's do it.
Okay, yeah, that works for me. That's, man, I'm excited for next week. But we're gonna have nothing to close out the year. Oh shit! Well, that's the thing is I really haven't played any bad games this year. Like the worst game this year that I have played, I guess, was Kingdom Hearts 3. And watching Evan play it was also the worst part of this year in terms of games. But no, I haven't really played a bad game this year. I've definitely played disappointing games. Well, then I don't know. We'd have to
Yeah.
find games to shit on. I'm fine with finding games to shit on, but I'm also okay with just celebrating games next week. So good, we got Rock and Rule in our top games of the year.
Awesome.
Because what will next week be? It'll be the 12th. Yep. 12th, and then oh man, that's right. Plugging it a week in advance. I should have been tweeting about it, but yeah, over the weekend of the 14th, I think we're going up on the 13th. Will can correct me if I'm wrong. As we're going to go up to Kyle's, a.k.a. Casanova the Greats, and we're going to do some co-op streaming.
Nice.
We're going to make William play a bunch of spooky games. He's going to play PT again. And he's also going to play games in VR.
Nice.
And when I got Assassin's Creed Odyssey on Black Friday, it was a deal where I got to pick a whole bunch of other games for free, and like they were all VR games. So I own 5 VR games that I can't play because I don't have a headset. You know why you have to play them. Oh, I thought you were saying 5 points for William. I was like, what? You know why. Because, well, I can't really play VR, because if I take my glasses off, like, I can't really see. And people are like, just play with your glasses on. Because, Will, someone has to get into the machine and become the ghost, and of the two of us, you are the one who has the body type closest to the major. But anyway, I guess that's about everything, so we can go ahead and close out. So let's see. Oh shit, everything's different now, so I can't see who's doing stuff. If I click raid channel, what happens? Oh, that's really nice. You know what? I'm going to raid into Nudes of Dudes, because we've raided into Zero Gravity Theater, and he's playing a game no one likes. He's playing Undertale. So,
It's a game everyone likes.
yeah.
By everyone, I mean me.
You are everyone.
1/3 of your audience loves that game.
All I'm saying, William, is you have childbearing hips. But, yeah, we will start the raid. But until next time, I hope this works when I click this. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, it didn't work because now it's... Oh, fuck that up. Well, now we're here. Man, we should have a podcast where we see if we can say fuck more times than the Wolf of Wall Street. Then we can be in the record books. Take that. I'm coming for your Oscar DiCaprio, one of you people. But anyway,
Maybe Guinness tracks most fucks used in a podcast.
but does it follow most fucks given in a podcast? And there we go.